Yeah, it's been amazing actually. You know, as I look back on my life and you know where I started and where I am today, it's been amazing. But I love it so much that, you know, I'm 54. I just turned 54 years old in July, and you know, I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface of what's left to do in this business and in this sport. But it's definitely been an incredible journey.
You were a road paver, a bouncer, a hotel bellman, then an apprentice boxing trainer. I mean, you've done a few things in your time. When you were doing those things, did you have a big dream?
Yeah, well, I think when you're young, those are all the type of jobs you have to do. Number one, to find out what hard work really is, and number two, to find out what it is you don't want to do in life. So I was very lucky that I had all those experiences, and by the age of 19, I figured out didn't want to do any of that, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in the fight business, which at the time, you know, was 1988 or 1989. Sounded like the dumbest idea ever. But when you love something and you're very passionate about it, you know, and you know exactly what it is you want to do, you just get up every day and start grinding until it happens.
You come from an Irish Catholic background, as I do, and you were taught by nuns when you were younger, as I was. I had spiritual guidance from nuns. How did that impact you?
I don't know. Went to Catholic school and you know, had to go to church and all that stuff growing up. I was an altar boy when I was younger. I don't know how that. I don't know if that affected me in a positive way toward religion, but you know, I'm not a very religious person these days. I would say it's weird because there's some things that I don't believe in much, but I believe in karma for some reason. I never really was guided by religion in any way, shape, or form as I got into my 20s.
What do you think happens to you when you die?
I think that it's it. It's over. I think that we think we're more important than we really are, because some people have to believe that to get through life. I'm not one of those people that has to believe that. Listen, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I'd say the real answer for me is I don't know, but I don't let that guide me, and I don't let it, you know, just be a good person. You can figure out being a good person without having to believe in anything, in my opinion.
When you look again at your trajectory to where you've got to, you know, it was a wonderful report that you have $100,000 a year that you spend on sneakers. A, is that true? And B, did you ever think you'd get to a place where you could spend $100,000 a year on sneakers?
No, I actually never really thought about that ever. And I didn't even realize it until we did that Complex story and we started talking about how much money I'd spent on sneakers over the last year. But yeah, no, not anything I ever thought of, and didn't think about it until it came up in that interview.
Your relationship with your parents, obviously complicated, difficult. I know you don't particularly like talking about that. I don't want to pry into that, other than to just ask whether it's had a material effect on you as a person. Do you think a lot of the drive that you have comes from those difficulties and those difficult relationships?
You're right, I don't like talking about it, but it's a great question, and I would say yes, absolutely. My relationship with my parents has definitely, you know, made me who I am today in many different ways, not just, you know, in life and in business, but as a father too. So I wouldn't change my upbringing, not one thing about it. I wouldn't change any of it. So, yeah, great question, and I agree with you.
Has it made you a better father yourself, do you think, a better parent?
100%, 100%. My parents taught me a lot about what I didn't want to be as a parent, and yeah. And I don't really talk about, I don't think I've ever talked about this, but my parents both died recently. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's yeah. I don't like talking about it, but yeah, my parents died recently, and
how did that make you feel, given how difficult things have been?
Holy shit, this is where we're going with this interview, huh? I don't, you know, I'm good with it. I'm good with everything. You know, I focus a lot on my kids and my relationship with them, and I've sort of put my relationship with my parents behind me.
Did you feel sad when you knew they died, or did you
No.
feel it was the end of a...
No, well, I didn't wish any ill will on either one of my parents, but you know, no, I didn't. When they passed away, I had almost no feelings about it, to be honest with you.
You didn't go to their funerals, either of them?
Yeah, listen, I took care of my father and moved him up to Maine and you know, put him to rest with his family up there, and then my mother, I had nothing to do with any of hers. Her family handled, you know, her when she passed away.
I mean, it's an extraordinarily sad part of your life. And obviously I didn't know that your parents had both died recently. And I thank you for sharing that very private information. I appreciate it. But I am curious as to, you acknowledge that the drive that you have, a lot of that may have come from this quite rough time you had. But do you feel a great loss that you didn't have the love of your parents that many other people take for granted?
You sound like my wife.
I don't mean to. Well, actually, maybe I do.
No, I did not feel that way, and but there's no doubt about it. I cannot deny the fact that the way that I am built and the drive and all the things that I have definitely come from the relationship that I had with my parents. There's no doubt about it. But no, I have no remorse. I don't feel bad about the way that I grew up. I mean it when I say that I wouldn't change one thing about the way that I was brought up, because I truly believe had I not had them for parents, had I not had the upbringing that I did have, that I wouldn't be who I am today.
What are the things, Dana, what are the things that it taught you not to do as a parent, and what are the things that it taught you to do as a parent?
Yeah, I think that you know, the to-dos is I'm here for my kids. You know, I've been married for almost 30 years. You go through, you know, a lot of things in a marriage. I mean, I just went through some stuff last New Year's Eve. You know, these things happen. What you don't do is you don't leave. You don't quit. You don't give up, and you stay. You know, you don't stay together just for your children, but you stay. I made a commitment. 22 years ago, I had my first son, and there's a commitment there to everybody that's involved. And you know, I've stayed in there. I'm always there for my kids, anything that they ever need. And you know, my father taught me, you know, what it feels like to not have a father there at the house, what it's like to not have that person around all the time when you need them. And I would never do that to my kids.
You said a great quote. You talked about, my legacy to me is when I drop dead and my kids are at my funeral, I want my 3 kids to get up and say, he's an awesome dad. Is that ultimately, in the end, the real litmus test of success for you? I've seen other people say, you know, actually, if in the end your kids, when they get old enough to make that decision for themselves, if they still want to be around you and they still love you and they still care about you and they would speak at your funeral in a positive way about you, that in the end, that's the ultimate litmus test of success, far more than any financial benefits or gains or fights or whatever it may be.
Well said. I couldn't have said that better myself. You're absolutely right. You know, everybody's always asking about legacy, your legacy. What you did for a living isn't your legacy. Your legacy is your children and their children and you know, how they feel about you, how they feel about... Listen, we all make mistakes and we all fail in life at many different things. My opinion is the one thing that you can't fail is being a parent. It's the ultimate failure. It's what showed that you really weren't focused on the right things in your life if that's what you failed at.